The classic Zippo model number 200 brush chrome finish windproof lighter, which has been in production and sales for many decades till this very day. Despite being the same Zippo model, what would the changes be throughout this number of years, and how have Zippo manufacturing been progressing over those period of times? Let's commence our heritage journey back into the year 1957. From that year, if you buy a brush chrome finish Zippo, you might expect it to come packed within this red candy stripe box. Inside of it would be the guarantee leaflet. If you like to know what the contents are, do check out the video at the link below. Here's the bottom stem. Looking at the general appearance, it looks to be a silvery and perhaps slightly matte in luster of the chrome finish. As for the hinges, the hinge pin appears quite flushed against both the sides. As for the brushed pattern, I personally perceive that it may look like a wider and a slightly deeper tone. Alright. And the hinges from this time, it totally has no play at all. A very tight tolerance which we are seeing right now. It would be a steel insert and a white felt padding beneath. Let me emphasize that all the examples I'm showing in this video, they are all in a mint in box condition. So this would very likely be how it would be if you were to buy a lighter like this during that time. Looking at the cam spring, we see that it is being humped, meaning that the spring is elevated right here behind the cam. Any Zippo lighters fitted during the time would come in this asbestos wick, being a cotton exterior and strands of asbestos fiber within its core, the kinds of resembles fiber optics. If I am to tease the cotton apart, from here we can briefly see it here. Even while closing, this entire lid still remains extremely tight without any play at all. And we now come to the year of 1962, remembering that would be the time of the Vietnam-American War. This lighter here in this cream packaging with the single red flame, it may well have been shipped to Vietnam, being sold to the GIs at the postal exchange, or it could have been sold along the streets of Saigon during that time. So if you were to buy a brushed chrome finish Zippo lighter following 1962, this would be how it came. And likewise, a guarantee leaflet. Overall appearance, I kind of feel that it is not the identical silvery and slightly matte luster that we saw in the 1957. The chrome finish appears brighter and more of the mirror-like, whereas the brush pattern now seems slightly concentric and perhaps depth-wise perhaps maybe not much of a contrast. Hinges, we are looking at the 5 barrels identical to the 1957. Hinge pin likewise are flushed with the edges on both ends. Now let us hear it click and see the hinge tolerance. There, this hinges is still not loose, still not floppy, but it does not feel as tight as the 1957. Furthermore, this flint wheel rivet is hollow as with the 1957. Same asbestos wick. And here is the difference we see now, that the cam spring is of the flat design, no longer the hump we see on the previous. Rather, it's a straight rectangular piece that we have here. Both these 62 and 57 inserts are of the flat surface. For matching pattern number. Okay, let's see what we have next. And thereafter, we now find ourselves following the year 2020, which is in fact not long ago. Thus, this is contemporary times, modern days, the time that we are living in right now. So, well, I guess we are familiar with the packaging right now that we see on eBay, Amazon, in the retail shops everywhere around the world. The same brush chrome Zippo lighter would come in a black leathery box like this, as with all the other models, or rather most the other models. Now the familiar guarantee leaflet, however, is in Chinese because it came from a Hong Kong distributor. At this time now, Zippo lighters are already widespread in many countries and regions. Here we see the contemporary brush chrome lighter in an identical chrome luster and a brushed pattern as with the one we saw in 1962, perhaps less deep than that of the 1957. It's a shinier and brighter and a more mirror-like appearance. Looking at the hinges, the 5 barrels does not change. What we are seeing now, perhaps if you can observe, is the wider gap and a few inconsistencies between the length of each barrel right here. Now furthermore, if you can see that the barrels are not even and straight as those we saw. As for the hinge pin, now looking at both ends, that it seems to be shorter than the barrel ends. Well, let's hear the click and test the hinge tolerance. Zippo lighters of the recent times would expect it to be loose and kind of floppy in the hinges. That is now the new norm. And now we see that the flint wheel rivet is no longer hollow, it's solid instead. The cam spring is now a white tapered design, which adds strength and durability to the component. Right, as for the wick, we no longer have the asbestos wick, which had been discontinued following the 1980s due to the changes in regulations, but instead, from the 1980s to this very day, the Zippo wicks have now been braided with thin strands of copper wire, which I've learned from another YouTube video that its purpose is to conduct heat and thus transmitting lighter fluid more effectively. The insert is no longer of the flat surfaces like those we saw. Rather, it's kind of shrunken a little, but with a bump on each of the ends here. No longer the white, the plain white felt padding. Instead, now it has been stamped with the lift to fill wording, which since the last couple of years it has become a red wording instead of black. Speaking of the lighter wick, now with the copper wired ones, Zippo Manufacturing are now advising consumers to trim the wicks for the best results. If you watch the video I had posted about the vintage red leaflet, it used to advertise that the old asbestos wick was said to last forever without trimming. That's if I remember that correctly, so do refer to that video, which kind of makes sense because the asbestos wick from those older times, they were pretty much indestructible. However, due to its health concerns that were found in later times, thus it had to be discontinued. So that's what I figure. Alright, well, let's conclude this video. We have seen how the Zippo brushed chrome model 200 windproof lighter has been made, packaged and sold throughout a span of more than 60 years, 63 years to be specific, based on the evidence from the artifact that they are all new in box, to a mint condition, as close as how they would be when being put on a shelf. In terms of the quality, workmanship, and perhaps the reliability of this same product throughout the times, looking at the differences that we see on these Zippo products along the timeline to this very day, are the differences for the good or for the worse? You tell me then. Yeah, you tell me. So I would like to read your comments in the comment section below, and perhaps to read from your perspective, and let's hope we engage in a healthy discussions and sharings. And so with that, I thank you for watching this video, and I hope everybody stays safe and well during this period of time. Thank you all for watching, and have a great one.